I want to sort of time this and date this because there's, I think, a larger Ohio State portal movement discussion that pairs with the addition of Seth McLaughlin, the former Alabama center, committing to the Buckeyes. Because over the weekend, we get Seth McLaughlin. He had 14 starts for the Crimson Tide this year, 25 starts across his career. Versatile player, could be center, could end up playing at guard. I think a lot of different options for Ohio State. He follows the addition of Will Howard, the former Kansas State quarterback. And as of an Instagram story this morning, Quinshon Judkins is in Columbus, Ohio, according to his Instagram story. Danny, what do we make of this Ohio State, offensive portal movement? I mean, is this a chips to the middle of the table? You're sensing your opportunity to take the Big Ten back?
No, this is we've lost 3 times to Michigan, and we're watching them play for a national championship. We'll do whatever it takes. We will move mountains to get back to the top of the Big Ten. It's a combination of all of it, right? I mean, I think they realize, maybe some of the areas they're lacking. Clearly, quarterback was an issue. This is kind of the move, too. You've got a talented quarterback coming in Aaron Nolan, but you want to make sure you've got a sure thing. I do think Will Howard is an upgrade, and then you can go around and you can chop around and make some of these moves that will enhance your roster, and I think they're all upgrades. Travion's off to the NFL. You got a workhorse like Quinshon who's looking to get paid. They've got them deep pockets. They can pay him. And then I would say with McLaughlin, you mentioned him rotating along the offensive line. I hope either they're running a lot of under center or they move him to guard, because I don't know if that's ever getting fixed. And my goodness, the first bad snap he has, you feel bad. It's almost like a kicker, who misses a wide right or misses one of those field goals. It just becomes a thing. I'm not joking when I say, like, he either needs to figure that out and it never happens again, or move positions, like go to guard. There's no shame in that.
Is Trevian off to the NFL? Is that official?
Oh, I just assumed.
I was assuming as well, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I don't know that that's official yet. This is the result of pressure.
Yep.
I mean, Ohio State's going to look different next year. It's not going to be what we've seen. Like, if you think back to what Ohio State was when it won the national title in 2014 with, Cardale Jones was the quarterback in the title game because there were injuries. It was JT Barrett. It was a much more QB run heavy kind of Urban Meyer system that Urban has always kind of used with his spread. Then Ryan Day came in and we saw it become much more. I mean, Justin Fields was a runner, but they didn't really use him. Like, there weren't a ton of designed runs for Justin Fields in that offense. It was more of a pocket passer kind of, spread offense, NFL style, that you saw with Stroud, you saw with Haskins. And then you lose to Michigan 2 years in a row, and you come in this season and you say, we're going to lean more on the run game, because one of the critiques about Ryan Day was they abandoned the run too much. And you saw it. And you saw it early in the year. Like, I'd like to know what Lou Holtz thinks right now, because, like, Ryan Day he hears the criticism and it gets to him. And he was like, okay, they say we're not tough, so we're going to be tough this year. Wasn't tough enough. They still lose to Michigan. So now what are they doing? They're going back to what they were doing when they won the national title in 24. That's why Will Howard's coming in. Will Howard's not a better passer than Kyle McCord. Like, if you look at their numbers, especially past like the 15-yard mark in air yards, it's not the same thing. Kyle McCord, it was much better throwing down the field. And obviously you could say he had better targets at Ohio State, which he did. But they're not going to be a better passing offense with Will Howard than they already were. They're clearly trying to change their identity in what they do. So that's why I'm surprised Quinshon Judkins is there, but that could be a signal of what Trevion's future is. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they have both Trevion and Quinshon Judkins in there, because I think they are going to be leaning more and more on the run game and their defense. In other words, they're trying to be Michigan. It's not the other way around anymore. And I feel like I get that. That's the sense I get from what's going on in Ohio State. And I think that is the result of Ryan Day kind of feeling some heat, because, again, like Danny said, they've lost 3 straight to Michigan. They haven't won the Big Ten. And Michigan might be a national champion by the end of the night.
Whew. Whew. I was going through workshopping at top 25. Hi, West Virginia fans. Hi, Washington fans. Hi, Oklahoma State fans. Love y'all. And by the way, some West Virginia fans, they found my Cash App and they sent me $1 request for not knowing ball, which I got to give it to you guys. Is really that is elite trash talk. I am game, respect, game. I think it's Georgia or the field next year. However, I do think, like, Ohio State's one of the teams that could, if they're getting all these guys back on defense, because I do generally trust Ryan Day to score points. And they're like the guys they got coming back. I think the upgrade at quarterback, like that's going to be an interesting team to watch.
Bud, what do you make of Malachi Nelson winding up at Boise State? Because when you've got that kind of recruiting profile, when you went to USC as a Lincoln Riley stamp of approval, well, maybe it's not if they're letting him walk, but I mean, one side, great get for the Broncos. We don't see a lot of players of that kind of pedigree or that kind of projection coming out of high school wind up playing on the Smurf turf. But do we change our expectations for Malachi Nelson when we see him finally suiting up in the Mountain West next year?
I do a little bit. Yeah. I mean, we're being honest about this, right?
Yeah.
I think it is. Again, if I'm going to sit here and say, like, I think you have to at least pay attention to what the market is saying about these players, the market of college football offers, and the market of the transfer portal. For instance, McCord going to Syracuse.
Right.
We think Syracuse is one of the worst jobs in the Power Five. That probably says something in what is not a great year for quarterbacks that he falls all the way to Syracuse. Syracuse fans will disagree with that. I don't care. Now, if Ohio State and a couple other good schools wanted Howard, like to me, does that mean that Howard's way better than McCord? Not necessarily, but probably somewhat of an improvement, or at least maybe what they're going to do with him is different. I do think ending up at a G5 school from USC is a bit of a fall from grace. It doesn't mean it can't work out. Maybe it can. I have questions like, what's the shoulder like now after he had the procedure? Like, was that something serious? I don't know. What was the feedback schools got from USC when asked about him? Again, I don't know. So I think my feeling is kind of what your feeling is. Like, that's a little odd, right? For a guy who was that highly recruited to fall that far. But it also could work out and be a huge steal for Boise. Like, they also took Cam Camper, who 2 years ago was really good and last year was hurt a bunch. Maybe he bounces back. Maybe Boise has found the new market inefficiency, which is taking guys who got hurt and are going to bounce back better than expected. I don't know. I'm going to be watching it closely, though, because if he hits, they're a real problem in the Mountain West, right? If he doesn't, people are going to still see, oh, you got a 5-star on your roster, which, makes it hard to attract other guys.
Yeah.
I mean, if we thought Kyle McCord going to Syracuse was a result of the market for Kyle McCord, what do you think it says about the market for Malachi Nelson?
Right.
Right. I mean, and just hearing some of the vibe coming out from USC. I think the term bust is going to be one we start to use, with 5 stars that have high expectations that go there with, we're going to be an All-American or you're going to win a national championship. It's too early to say that, but I do think it's a fall from grace, like you're saying. And I do think it's a result of whatever people were talking about. And when you call and say, hey, what's the deal with Malachi Nelson? For whatever reason, there weren't a lot of suitors for him. So I think that's why he's at Boise State. And I hope he crushes it. I think it'd be great.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is a spot where we remember what Boise did with the midseason turnaround, being able to get yourself all the way into the conference championship game. Like, there's got to be a lot of confidence within that locker room that they have things going in the right direction and that they have after a very brief hiccup, have reestablished themselves as the class of that conference. You're going into them next season being like, all right, Boise and who else is going to be on the top tier in the Mountain West. So if it works out, that's awesome for Malachi, and obviously very good news for
and somebody put in the chat LSU versus, I don't know what the name is, but he said especially with like Dante Moore, who didn't play great, made a lot of freshman mistakes. Like, they're willing to bring him on with Dylan Gabriel, saying we'll take him on, we'll pay him. I think you still see like the upside there, and when you talk to the staff, I'm sure they're probably positive reviews, and you can still see some potential to revive his career and reach the potential he had coming out of high school.
What's our other? So we had TJ Finley at Texas State. We had a couple of examples. That's just the one off the top of my head, but like that, we had a couple of examples this year of former Power 5 quarterbacks that dropping down a level were great and like really helped their team experience some big time success. So maybe that is the path for Malachi Nelson. And Boise State ain't Texas State. I mean, much love to GJ Kinney, but that's a Boise State program that will be looking to compete for playoff bids. As we have those 5 automatic bids going to conference champions, that will be one that I think the Broncos are going to be hoping to get a part of. All right, one last one. Speaking of the group of 5, good news for the Liberty Flames.
Hold on. hold on. I'm counting my money from the day trading market has been good on Kaidon Salter. I mean, do we remember that was one of the first weeks? So I'm just counting my returns on Kaidon Salter. Day trading Danny had that one on the pink stem. That was a high risk, high reward, and it paid off. Counting my winnings.
There's not even a casino nearby. Why are you rolling around with that much cash?
There's a lot of ones tucked behind it. Trust me.
All right. So yeah, Kaidon Salter enters the transfer portal. I think when we discussed it here, a little bit surprised considering how Jamie Chadwell's offense kind of seems to set up for him to do well. Tom, do we just think this was a negotiating tactic?
Could have been. I think this is a smart young man who understands how the market works, in that he was a very good quarterback for Liberty this year. There is a 12-team playoff coming next year, and Liberty is poised to be in a position where they are going to be competing for that at-large berth every single season. They got the New Year's Six berth. Maybe this was a young man that said, I'm going to go in the portal. I'm going to see what's out there. But I also know that Liberty might feel like we need to keep this guy, and maybe we need to raise some funds to make sure that he stays here. So I think that this is just a quarterback showing excellent decision-making skills, being aware of his market and taking full advantage of it. And I hope it works out really well. Because, I mean, like, Liberty is poised next year. We talk about Malachi Nelson going to Boise. There's going to be other good G5 schools, but SMU is going to the ACC. So they're no longer in that kind of category of, G5. So the pathway to the playoff is pretty wide open for Liberty. So to make sure they keep the guy that helped them get to New Year's Six Bowl this year, I think is very important for them. And I think it was a wise decision. But I also am a little surprised there might not have been as much interest in him, but maybe he was never really that interested in leaving. Maybe he was just negotiating a little bit.
Yeah, I think he likes it there, right? A lot of us, when we first saw it, was like, all right, I guess Auburn, but we don't actually know that he likes Hugh Freeze and those guys. We're just sort of assuming it. Like he played for him, but I don't know.
I love making that mistake, by the way. Like whether it's like coaches who used to work together or players who used to be for coaches, like, oh man, that instant connection. And then you like actually talk to him behind the scenes years later. And it's like, I don't like that guy.
I think it's a great get for Liberty that he's coming back. I mean, at that level, you just really can't guard him. I mean, what Western played him well for like a half. They screwed around. Probably the closest game they played was the Sam Houston game, I think. And Sam Houston was a really good defense. They just don't have any offense, and eventually they still won that. Liberty has some real NIL for the G5 level too. Like their NIL, I guarantee you, is better than some P5 programs. So hopefully he got some kind of bag. I would assume he did.
I think he did for sure.
Yeah, Liberty.
I think there was probably a market. Liberty's got a strong desire to be perceived as an up-and-comer in the college football space, right? I mean, they were desperate to join a conference. They get in, they dominate it in year one. They got a player who played really well. They weren't going to let him go. I think I'd love to know the potential suitors, because I do think there was some out there, and I think Liberty, match whatever offers were out there for them. I think they have a strong desire to really keep this thing rolling. I mean, it wasn't cheap to go get Chadwell. Remember, Jamie Chadwell's market was pretty high, and I think a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to Liberty. Like he was on a trajectory to potentially be a Power 5 head coach at a good program. Like his name came up a lot, and they were able to get him. Like they got some money.
Yeah, they passed.
I strongly believe. No, sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead. I was just making a joke.
I believe that Chadwell could have had USF and Georgia Tech last year, and chose Liberty. So I don't know if we can prove that, but that's based on what I had heard. Like I do believe that. It's a good job. They did lose some guys though. Like it's not like Liberty's going to pay up and keep everybody. The receiver who they lost is a legitimate NFL type guy. Who's going to go? Did he commit to Texas? I know he was looking at it. Did he? Wait, he came back to Liberty. That kid. I'd be interested to see that. And then they lost.
Don is our Liberty correspondent, so I would trust him.
Don in the Cover 3 tailgate. We love having you around. We appreciate it. We're glad we're able to deliver this Liberty segment for you. This is for you, Don.